Welcome to Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights, a podcast by coaches for coaches. Our guests share their hard-won wisdom to help you grow your coaching business and create a life of success. So get ready to unlock the blueprints to your success. Welcome, everyone, to our newest episode. Thank you for being here and for joining me today. And I have someone very special joining me from a very long way away. His name is Ken Attard. His company is Mindset Malta, because he's actually calling from Malta. And he is a mindset consultant. I'm excited to talk to you today, Ken, to learn more about you and more about what you do for your clients. So welcome.
I'm looking forward to this conversation. You just put the pressure on now because you told everybody I'm special. That's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of weight to carry.
Won't be a problem. You'll be fine. So first thing is, Ken, tell us a little bit about how you came to be a mindset consultant. I'm sure there was a journey that you went.
Yeah. So that one question is going to take up the whole podcast. But anyway, so essentially what happened was probably about over 20 years ago, I got involved in network marketing, multi-level marketing. As I believe many coaches, consultants actually have been through that process. Anyways, that just introduced me to personal development, really and truly. And I got very intrigued. The nature of the business, I began to listen to speakers. I began to read more books on personal development. And like I said, but the nature of the business, I was getting in front of people on a regular basis. On a weekly basis, I'd have anywhere between 40 and 60 people in my office. Then we'd have the larger events. And it was really interesting because as I listened to these speakers and I started to read these books and just started to delve more and more into personal development, I felt very comfortable in it. And there was just a certain, let's say, a gut feeling that this is something that I could be really good at. I really believe that I like conversing with people. I like being out with people. It was like a natural process. And essentially what happened then as well was what really inspired me was I was learning some stuff that I thought was like really cool stuff. And I was like, how come they don't teach us this stuff in school? And that sort of was a catalyst for me to say, you know what, I really want to get the word out there to as many people as possible. And ever since then, I've just continued to delve into personal development. I've continued to learn. I'll be the first one to say, I have one, let's say, if you want to call it official certification, which is an NLP Master Practitioner certification. Yet I do not have an official coaching certification or anything like that. Yet I've also been an entrepreneur for the past 20 years as well. So I have in-house experience, if you'd like to call it, been in the trenches, understand a lot of what goes and what's involved. And again, I've just continued to learn over the course of the last 20 years, again, at continuing to read, continuing to listen, continuing to attend seminars. And more than anything, I think, which is really important, is that taking that information, implementing, experimenting, and seeing what actually is working for me, and then conveying that information over because I've experimented with that rather than just saying, oh, this works or this doesn't work. It's actually experimenting with it and having a knowing that it actually works. At least for me, and this is what I always say, is that this is something that I can convey to you, my experience, and what I believe is very powerful. Now, how you might even take a new spin on it and improve on it. There's always that possibility. So over the course of the span, this is how what's brought me to here today. And the real catalyst was as well, another catalyst. It was in 2019. So I had been delving for a long time in personal development, yet it was in 2019 when I said, you know what, I'm really gonna get my message out there more than ever now. It was the end of 2019, I remember. And I just started doing some Facebook Lives. Very generic material. And then March 2020, we had COVID. And it was like, oh, wow, that was like divine intervention because I had already started to make progress. And I had another business, which was my predominant business. But then during that period, then I just flipped everything. And now it's just full in coaching and consulting.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Wow. Yeah. It was interesting because before COVID, we would try and get people on a Zoom call and a video call. They were like, oh, no, I don't want to be on video. We'll get on the phone. And after COVID, everybody was cool with it. And that was so great because now we can work with people all over the world.
That's like phenomenal. And then someone like myself, like I'm on an island that's 120 square miles. So I think for me, it's phenomenal that I can do that. It's phenomenal that I can be speaking to you. I can be speaking to someone in the UK. I can be speaking to someone in Australia. I can be speaking to anybody around the world. And I can be working with clients anywhere around the world. So that's absolutely fabulous. I still see. And in fact, what I've done recently for me is one of the things that I've reverted to recently when it comes to programs, one particular program is I have reverted back to some live in person because I truly feel that people are, this is absolutely wonderful. Like we said, it's phenomenal. Yet I think that community feel, I think people are missing that. And there's something so powerful about something live in person. Not that this can't be powerful, it is as well. But when you're face to face, eye to eye, and there's a certain connection there that I think if we sway too far to one side or the other, I think it can be lost. And finding that balance, I think, is really cool.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. We're huge fans of automation and that type of thing, but you can't go too far because you miss the person to person connection. The other thing we're big believers in is that there's a lot of business in your own backyard. Local networking is always a good thing, and people need that, I think.
Absolutely. And it's interesting you're saying that because even though I am, like I said, on a small island we have a population of just over 500,000, if I'm not mistaken, although heavy densely populated for the size, yet there still is room. There's a lot of room and potential, like you said, in my own backyard.
Yeah, I love that. So I'm curious, as you've gone through your personal development learning, I'm sure you have a lot, but I was wondering, can you give us some of your favorite books or seminars that you've been to?
Oh, favorite book seminars. Oh my God. Recently I attended a Joe Dispenza retreat. It was just a 3-day one, not the 7-day one yet. He was in Europe. He was actually in Barcelona earlier this year, and I attended for that, and I loved it. And that again was a reminder of the community feel. I was expecting there to be about 1,000 people. There were 3,000 people.
Wow.
Absolutely. And he had just come from Switzerland where he was with 8,000 people. So that's that. I really enjoyed that recently. The previous year, I also attended another workshop seminar with Dr. Bruce Lipton and Greg Braden. They were in Italy. So that was, a hop, skip, and a jump away as well. So that was really cool as well. Books, over the years, it varies. Authors that I've definitely delved into were Dr. Wayne Dyer, Dr. David Hawkins, Deepak Chopra. Oh, wow. There's just, there was a time way back. There was Tony Robbins. That's been a while, though. That was way in the beginning, I think. And those were tremendous influences. And without a doubt, Esther Hicks, Abraham Hicks as well, which with a little bit of, let's call it luck. I'm going to say luck this time, hopefully third time lucky. I'll be able to see her early in May next year in Scotland. It's been a long time coming. You're not going to believe, like if I could just quick story. And again, and I'll tie it in with, let's say perseverance, let's say with trusting. So I was supposed to go see her in 2023 in Amsterdam. And a few days before that, my girlfriend's father passed away. So we had to cancel or postpone. So we postponed for the following year. Again, 2024 Amsterdam. About a week before, my girlfriend gets a massive spasm in her back and cannot walk. I'm like, what's going on here? So I'm thinking third time lucky because it's not in Amsterdam, it's in Scotland. So for some reason, I wasn't meant to go to Amsterdam. I'm meant to go to Scotland. We'll see. So yeah, she's been in a huge influence. I've been following her probably for a good 20 years, almost 20 years. And the thing that amazes me with her as well is that it's so consistent. When you listen to her, like over the 20 years, you can't go and say, oh, she said this 20 years ago, but now she's saying this. Things have evolved, yet it's just been so consistent. So I'd say those are big players that have influenced me. Without a doubt, I'm probably forgetting a couple along the way as well. And there's so many great teachers out there. Amazing teachers.
Yeah, there really are. And you touched on some like Esther Hicks and Tony Robbins. They've been around a long time. Like they were on the forefront of a lot of personal development before it was really a coin term, if you will.
We could go back to Jim Rohn. Yeah. Again, I remember when I started out, I was listening to him a lot as well. And that's like old stuff. You can go back and you can find some really old stuff. Let's call it old, yet it's still very profound, because when they're talking about truths, this is what I like to tell people. And I love teaching and I love finding new ways of explaining stuff. But essentially, that's it. We're not really reinventing the wheel. Where potentially I have a way to explain something that may resonate with you. It may not. As much, I like to say this, as much as I'd love everybody to resonate with me, that's probably not going to happen.
No.
Yet some people will, right? Some people will. And maybe I have a way of explaining something and it resonates with them and it's good. And I might be saying the same thing that Rowan said, yet just saying it in a slightly different way.
Yeah, or made me think of Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich.
Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Classic book. You just brought it to mind. Classic. Probably one of the first books I read. How to win friends and influence people, right? Just there's just so many great authors out there. Absolutely. They're classics and they still resonate.
Some of them, like Think and Grow Rich, I learn something every time I read that.
Yeah. And interestingly, if I recall, I don't know who had said this, but I believe the original manuscript of that actually had frequency in there and vibration. Yet because we're talking when that was written, people weren't ready for that. The publishers didn't allow him to put it in. And again, so that's just like the evolvement, right, of where we are. I remember even 20 years ago when I began my personal development here, and I'm talking about specifically in Malta, it was quite a new thing. Even going back 20, 25 years ago, even speaking, believe it or not, even speaking about yoga was still considered almost taboo sort of thing, right? We're dabbling into a bit of the spiritual, whatever, for whatever reasons. It's all good. It's just how things evolve. So in 20 years now, personal development is at the forefront. For the most part, people have heard about mindset and have heard about, now whether they've really dabbled into it or not, no, that's another question.
I love that. So let's talk a little bit about, how do you work with your clients? Do you typically work with them one-on-one? Do you have group coaching? Do you have programs? And then give us some stories of some people that you've worked with.
Sure, absolutely. So I like to mix it up. I involve some one-to-one. So I have online programs, again, where there's video, they're watching video, they're doing home play sheets. At the same time, they're interacting in a group as well, also interacting with me one-to-one. The one-to-one has to be somewhat limited simply because there's only so much time that you can give. So that's why it's so great to work in groups. Recently, like I said, I've put together a live in-person program. So for a group of entrepreneurs, we're meeting up. It's called the Mindset Unplugged series. And it's a set of 3 talks. They're spread out, because this is the amazing part. They're spread out. They're a month apart from each other. The talks are a month apart from each other simply because, and I was testing this, entrepreneurs, it's amazing how time is still a huge issue. Still a really big issue. They simply say they don't have time. So I said, let me spread this out. A talk every month. Someone thinks, okay, I can handle that. And then what I incorporated to incorporate the online as well is that I incorporated a couple of Zoom calls in between the talks. So we have a talk, 2 weeks later, we have a Zoom call, 2 weeks later, we have a live in person, 2 weeks later, Zoom call, 2 weeks later, the final talk, which is actually coming up next week for this particular group. And I'm really enjoying that because there is that personal interaction. And the idea is to create this group of entrepreneurs who can stay in touch as well and create a community, and they can learn from each other. They can, because people are going through different things, and someone might be going through something and someone else has already gone through it and they can teach them. It's the same thing as a mastermind, which will be the next step for some of them as well. So I'm really enjoying that. I have an 8-week program online as well, where someone can go through that online. Yet I do incorporate some one-to-one with that as well. And because I like that personal touch, I really do that personal touch. Now that one-to-one, if someone local, I can meet up with them. If it's not someone local, I'll meet up with them like this, and we can still do our one-to-one. So I really enjoy doing that. And I do have another program, which I'm probably going to, I did it about 5 years ago. It was one of the first programs I ever did. I'm looking at potentially now looking at it and updating it now, because 5 years, we're constantly evolving, constantly learning new stuff. So when I go and look at it, I go, oh, I could tweak that. The thing with that, to tweak that program is a 52-week program. And that took me a year to do, in the sense that I did one video, I did one lesson, one module every week. So every week, for a year, I did one module, 52 weeks. So I will begin to go back to that and start to tweak certain things. And actually from it, I could actually create potentially another couple of shorter programs or something like that as well. I'll start looking at that. So this is how I interact with my clients mostly. Some of the stories, one of my very first clients was actually a young 23-year-old who was in a 9-to-5 job. Nothing wrong with that at all, but was an aspiring entrepreneur, a very creative guy. But the cool thing with him was this, is that when we started, he was convinced, like he wasn't happy in the job he had, but he was convinced that I don't think I have enough credentials to create a decent CV to even apply for something better. Just to apply for something better. Within 2 weeks of working together, he found a new job. Now, what was even cooler with this guy was that job didn't work out simply because as we were going through the program, he started to identify some of his core values. And he realized that the job he was in was completely incongruent to his values, to the extent that he was feeling sick on the way to work, would have to leave, get home, and be fine. So in a very short period, he created the awareness that this is not right for me and I have to shift this again. And he shifted that. He's moved on to, he's in IT now, and he's moving up the ladder. He's moving up the ladder where he is, and he's just taking one step at a time and really enjoying what he's doing, which is, for me, is the most brilliant thing of all. Now, will he move out completely on his own as an entrepreneur? Potentially, he might come to that point. Yet the cool thing for me was this guy was still 23 and he was interested in learning, and he wanted to know. And now he's making his progress, and more than anything, he's enjoying what he's doing. Another lady I've worked with who's in real estate. Again, what was really cool about this was her identifying some of her limiting beliefs, identifying that and we're continuing to work together, but identifying that she doesn't need to go so fast to achieve the results. People think they have to chase all the time and they got to go so fast and they're going to miss out on something and someone else is going to get there before them. And again, this is just the lack, right? Yet she, in a very short period as well, she was like top real estate agent in her company last year. And she got a couple of different awards. Yet again, for me, the most important thing is, like, the awards are wonderful and that's great and you achieve those, but her starting to realize there's more to her life than just her work and getting in touch with who she really is. And she's plus 40, but as a youngster, she used to sprint. She was a sprinter and she was just always afraid to go back. She wanted to. She used to love it. So finally, after a little bit of work, she's decided, you know what, I'm going to start again. And she started again last year and she's loving it. She's enjoying it. She's sprinting 100 meters. She's sprinting against, her coach actually wants her to compete abroad in her age group because we don't have that here, that senior group here locally, because she's running against 18-year-olds. Now, she's not placing like they're 18-year-olds and she's 40 plus, but she's just enjoying it and getting the pleasure of just doing something that she loves doing. How many entrepreneurs do I speak to that used to love doing something and have completely just put it, like, haven't touched it in years, whether that's painting, whether that's, I don't know, a sport, whether that's they've just put it completely to the side, completely forgot it. And not only that, so many of them have forgotten how to just have fun.
Yeah.
And this is what's really important for me.
Yeah, you just totally reminded me that there was a story like that of a woman who, I think I read it in a book actually, and she loved ice skating when she was younger. And
I moved to an island that doesn't have ice. I'm from Toronto, Canada. I was born on ice.
Yes, you were.
Go ahead. I interrupted your story.
Don't throw you on the ice before you can walk, right? Skate.
That's it, man.
Oh, but anyhow, yeah. But as she was older, it's what she loved. And so she started taking lessons. She'd go out and skate in the mornings by herself. And it was like she had forgotten, like you said, that this is what made her happy and what made her feel free. And that's the real cool part. And I can guarantee you this. I'm going to choose to believe this, that I was part of the manifestation, that over the course of the last, I think it's the last 3 years, and this very soon again, every December, from December to January, they actually set up an ice rink here, and I can go skating for a month.
and I'm there almost every day. So I believe that I manifested that. Okay.
I love that. Absolutely.
And the cool thing about this and what you're saying about the joy of it, right? Because I had huge spans of like, I was before this was happening. I probably spent a good 10, 15 years before I was on skates or something like that. But it just comes back and it feels so at home. And in of itself, it's like a meditation.
Yeah.
And you're saying exactly. There's a certain element of joy, and it's just really cool. So that's really interesting. You brought that up.
Yeah, that's so funny. I'll think about you in December when you can skate. You did. I want to touch on something that you talked about, and you were talking about one of your clients, and you said they had to learn to stop and pay attention to what they were thinking and feeling in that moment. And I feel that's very hard for people to do. And they forget that they need to do that. I think because if you have kids and a family and stuff, years fly by and they're full of responsibilities. And then things slow down a little bit and you forget that you don't have to be on autopilot all the time. And you can remember, if you can get into the moment and say, am I happy? Is this what I want? And I think
what a great question. What a simple, like one of the simple, it's a question I use very often with my clients. And I say, listen, this is it's a really simple question. I'm not saying it's going to be necessarily easy to answer. What do you want? It's a simple question. What do you want? And I think many have forgotten simply because they have gotten lost in, I don't know, call it fortunate, unfortunate. I believe that many entrepreneurs, the entrepreneurial world is very particular, not that it's any different than the rest of the world. Yet when you, again, start to delve into personal development and even attending entrepreneurial events, reading entrepreneurial books, very often the suffering, the struggle, the sacrifice, the stress is really highlighted. It's highlighted to the point that you may have heard it so many times that it now has become a belief. Because if they're telling you have to struggle to be an entrepreneur, and you hear that once, twice, three times, and then be prepared to suffer, be prepared to sacrifice, be prepared to struggle, be prepared to be stressed out, and you continue to hear that, that's what a belief is. A belief is just a thought that you think over and over and over and over. So if you have that belief, that's the way it needs to be. That's the way it's going to be. Because your mind, your brain is going to go in search of it so that you can justify and say, I was right. It is suffering. Look how much suffering I'm going through. Look how much struggle I'm going through. Look how much sacrifice. Now, I want you to learn to flip that and flip it and understand that it can be fun. It can be inspirational. It can be impactful. Yet if you have that other belief and you're getting lost in all of the tasks of your life, so amidst your entrepreneurial journey, you're also bringing up a family, raising a family, whatever's going on, the tendency is just to get lost in all of the tasks. I was just talking about this with a corporate group today, and how people want to find their purpose more often than not, which reminded me of another author, which is Eckhart Tolle. And I had heard this from him, and people, they want to find their purpose, this bigger purpose in life, which is wonderful, which is amazing. Yet forgetting that you can make it really simple in the sense that, so right now, my purpose in life is to have this conversation with you and the listeners. That's it. That's my purpose in life. And being fully present here right now. And when I'm ready from here, I will move on to the next thing, and that will be my purpose. So remembering when you're going back home to your families with your children, it's not a matter of just being with your children, but are you really with your children? Are you being present with your children? Or are you still concerned about what's going on at work and what you need to be doing tomorrow and the day after and whatever you have to be and checking emails and going back to our phone and whatever it is. And again, this isn't about who's right or wrong. It's just an observation for yourself to look at and say, okay, am I being present? Because getting lost in all of those tasks is what's happening. And this is why it's important to purposefully, I truly believe this, is purposefully begin to slow down. And it's really simple in the sense that as you purposefully begin to slow down, you actually become more efficient. Because now you've opened yourself up to actually receiving ideas, receiving solutions, receiving creativity, rather than chasing it. So many people are concerned in chasing the goals. Rather than chasing the goals, slow yourself down a bit, Allow yourself to receive inspiration. So now you can take inspired action rather than just taking action for the sake of taking action. There are a lot of people out there who are really busy doing nothing. And I say this humbly, and I say this with the utmost respect, because I've done it too. But they're just really busy doing nothing because for some reason they have this belief that the busier they are, the more important they are, the more they're going to get done, the more efficient they're going to be. They think that they're not going to miss out on the next opportunity. But that's just coming from a place of lack, thinking that there's not enough. Yet when you start to come from a place of abundance, you start to realize there's more than enough. No one can take anything away from you. There's always more.
I love that. Oh, so lovely. So Ken, you have been fun and inspirational today. So I so appreciate having
Pleasure.
you. If people want to reach out to you and want to work with you or find out more about your programs, where would be the best place for them to find you?
So the best place for them to find me, so I want to offer them, your guests, a gift if they want it. I have a short online program that they can go to. So they can find out a little bit about me as well. They just have to go to growth4entrepreneurs.com. And there they can find out a little more information about myself, but they also can register for a completely free, no obligation online program called The Mindset Choice, the choice that changes everything. And they're going to get a little more insight into why mindset is so important. And there's some really cool lessons in there. It's about, in total, it's about 2.5 hours in total. And it's split into about 8 different parts. So you can see one piece at a time. And at the comfort, at the leisure, at the time you have. So that's a really cool way for them to get in touch there. If they want to, they can send me an email at ken@com. They can find me on LinkedIn, Ken Attard, Instagram, Mindset Malta, Facebook, Mindset Malta, or even right now, I'm doing a lot of really cool posts on my personal Facebook if they just look up Ken Attard as well. There's multiple ways they can get in touch with me.
That's lovely. That is quite a big gift. 2.5 hours of training and learning. Yep. I love it. So we will put all those links in the show notes so people can have them at the ready. And then
Brilliant. Thank you.
Sure. And I have one final question for you. If you could give the world one tip to make it a better place, what would that be?
One tip. Remember to laugh a lot more, especially when you can laugh at yourself. That's my tip.
I love that, Ken. This has been such a pleasure getting to know you and learning more about you and having you on our show today. So thank you for joining me.
It's been my absolute pleasure.
Thanks for joining us today on Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights. We hope you're leaving this episode with inspiration to take your coaching business and your life to the next level. If you found value in this episode, we would love it if you would subscribe and share it with someone else who you think might benefit from hearing it. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next episode.